Can you share a case where a startup exited millions, but the founders made almost nothing? What went wrong, and what would you have done differently for them from a legal and strategic standpoint?
Uh, yeah, let me tell you about another deal that
Hmm.
so so this was a deal where pretty much everything went wrong.
Hmm.
Um, and I wouldn't say that they exited because the outcome is still pending, but it's gone backwards for them. A
Hmm.
client of mine entered into a deal with a partner. The partner promised to do lots of things to help, to be a partner in this relationship. Um, and of course, they got equity in exchange for the investment of uh, money and services that they
Hmm.
that they agreed to provide.
Let's say
Um,
$100,000 for 10%, just to give
let's
our
say that. Yep,
listeners.
one
Yeah.
hundred thousand dollars for 10%.
Hmm.
Uh, and so and so at that level, you would expect that the I'm just thinking about something somebody said. I don't want to jump to the end too fast, but I was at an event with somebody later who
Mm.
was associated with the other side of this deal after it was already crumbling, and he said, "Yeah, our legal team, they kind of prided themselves in setting up gotchas in the deal." And so that might tell you where the end result of this deal went. But
Mm.
in this deal, you have two people who are really eager to work together, two companies, large companies, in fact, and they enter into a deal, like you said, $100,000 for 10%. Well, what
Mm.
happens is they come in and they say, "Well, I want preferential treatment as a shareholder. I want some of these veto rights, so you can't
Hmm.
change the board. I want to be on the board, but they don't participate. They're supposed to, but they don't
Mm.
participate. I want to have preferential treatment if there is an exit, meaning
Mm.
so there's some terms like liquidation preferences, meaning
Hmm.
the investors who come in get the first money out of the deal.
Hmm.
If they put $100,000 in, um, and they get 10% of the company, they want their $100,000 out when there's a deal and when there's an exit before anybody else gets any money. And that,
Mm.
if there's money, then great. And if the value of the company drops to 700,000, they own 10%, but they still get their $100,000 out before anybody else gets money out of it if the company liquidates.
Mm.
And the other thing that you see is sometimes they double or triple that, which is very difficult. They say, "Hey, I'm going to put $100,000 in. I want a 2x liquidation preference." So I actually get
Wow.
$200,000 out before
Mm.
anybody else gets their money, right? And so you can see how a liquidation preference puts them at the top of the line, but pushes everybody else, including the founders, who typically have what's called common stock. The common
Mm.
stock is what's left over after all the preferred investors get their money out. Um,
Mm.
and so the common investors get left with nothing in that case. The other thing that they'll do is just to complicate this a little bit more is they'll come and say, "Well, in addition to my liquidation preference, I want participating shares," which means so I've got these preferred shares. I get my $100,000 or $200,000 out first, but then after I get my money back out, then I also essentially become a common shareholder and I still get 10% of the remaining money that's left over. So you're really double dipping, or triple dipping. And it's, the bottom line is when you get into a deal like this and you have these types of terms, it's usually because one, you didn't know what you were doing. You didn't
Mm.
have, competent legal counsel helping you, or sometimes even when you have competent legal counsel, you get your business into a bind and you
Mm.
get desperate. And in fact, I was talking with another attorney yesterday about a client that I'm working with, and historically, this client has just gotten themselves into a situation where they've their runway is too short. They need some more cash. They can't find it because if you're not raising before you need it, then you're going to find unfavorable terms.